My favorite song ever written and performed is Disarm by the Smashing Pumpkins. This song, with its beautiful melody and soul-piercing lyrics, gives me both an adrenaline shot of nostalgia as Billy Corgan sings about family abuse and being forced to grow up early. I love this song. So, let's talk about K-pop. Where do I even begin? Where the fuck do I actually start? How does somebody discovering K-pop for the first time in 2021 start a video essay?
So how much for a one-way ticket to South Korea today?
And yeah, I saw Gangnam Style.
Oppan Gangnam Style!
And I never really associated that with K-pop. I just assumed it was like any other stupid trend, like the apple, pineapple, pen guy.
Pineapple, apple pen.
So I asked myself, how do I actually approach this subject? Do I talk about how I was forced to listen to BTS's Boy With Love over and over and over and over and over and over again by my girlfriend's 6-year-old nieces?
No!
I need you! Woman, I need you!
Yeah, my initial reaction wasn't super positive, but oh, how wrong I was. I mean, do I talk about the rabbit hole of music I was led down by YouTubers like InternetsNathan, The Asian Theory, B-Boss TV, and Grazy Grace? Do I talk about pioneering bands like 21 who arguably started the girl crush concept, a concept that current bands today, bands like Blackpink, embody? Do I talk about the scandals? Do I talk about Dispatch, the Koreans' version of TMZ, and their weird obsession with creating headlining news on exposing celebrity relationships? Oh God, do I talk about the celebrity K-pop relationships? Like the fact that companies keep their male and female idols separate and actively discourage them from dating? Cases like what happened between Block B's Zico and AOA's Seolhyun, who broke up after 6 months, citing immense public pressure after the fans of the male rapper turned against Seolhyun. Maybe I can talk about the fans, the sasangs, which are basically a large group of dedicated stalkers.
But it gets even more intense. The third level of K-pop fans are the sassing fans, which in Korean means private life fan. Sasangs have no sense of right and wrong. They commit criminal offenses like seeking out celebrities at their dorms or homes, stealing personal belongings or information, harassing their family members, sending idols inappropriate gifts such as lingerie or other weird shit, or they even try to kidnap or physically hurt them.
And I could talk about Black Oceans. This is where K-pop fans intentionally turn off their group's specific glow stick, making the audience look like an empty black void. You may not know this, but fans use this to punish their respective idols, and it actually works. This is something K-pop fans dread. Do I talk about the strange bands like Orange Caramel? Crayon Pop? Piggy Dolls? Or do I discuss the badass bands like Brown Eyed Girls, 21, Kara, Hyuna? There's so much I could talk about, and honestly, I debated for a week on what this video was going to be about specifically. I mean, I know what a K-pop bias is. I'm 34. I shouldn't know this. But in my quest to pick a subject, I watched a video by a YouTuber named InternetsNathan, and I knew instantly what I would be discussing. Slave contracts. This means a few things actually. The general idea of a slave contract is where a company will put into the literature that an idol has to pay back the company for all the training, food, airfare, general transportation, photo and video shoots, and appearances on Korea's many K-pop friendly networks.
This contract is airtight. Scrooge only gets his family if he gives up adventure. Ding! Bradford, your contract is flawed!
Now, I've grown up with boy band and girl bands my entire life. I watched the rise and fall of NSYNC, Backstreet Boys, Christina Aguilera, Britney Spears, Spice Girls, Boyz II Men, 98 Degrees, Dream Street, Five, Savage Garden, Hanson, O-Town, Destiny's Child, Boyzone, Westlife. Yeah, this boy band and girl band concept isn't new to me, but K-pop offers something new in how these bands are actually formed. While in the US, generally speaking, a casting call goes out and the best candidates are picked to form a band. This is usually where it ends before the music comes out, and there's normally a full album upon release. Korea is similar, but ramps up the intensity by 1,000.
지금 무대에 올라와서 내가 이 티켓을 딱 표를 사서 공연 관객의 입장에서 봤는데 나 이런 공연이면 환불할 거야. 그리고 해놔. 그리고 고음이 너무 귀에 거슬려. 너무 아파. 귀가 너무 아파. 못 듣겠어. 춤. 나 같으면 이거 데뷔 안 시켜. 나가라 그래. 나가버려. 미조. 난 내가 느끼기에 너 목소리 톤 되게 애교 있거든? 목소리 있는데 발음 좋았어. 근데 느낌이 없었어. 발음에 신경 쓴다고 느낌을 못 찾는 것 같아. 그래서 너무 내가 듣기에 힘들어.
우리가 댄스 같은 경우는 전문가인 쌤이
やってもやってもなんか不足しててよくわかんないですね。一番年も上なのにデビューできないかもしれないっていうことだったら考えないようにしてとりあえず頑張っていこうと思っています。
Not only does every member of a K-pop group have to outperform all the first wave competition, but that only gets their foot in the door to become a trainee. Most K-pop idols will spend years, I mean years, training before being placed in an actual group. And even when that does happen, the band debut doesn't mean they will become popular instantly. Sure, being debuted by big labels like YG, SM, JYP, Big Hit, and Starship helps, but this is no guarantee. And even if your debut is successful, you have to do the process all over again when you debut in other countries like Japan and China. And even if those debuts are successful, most groups typically only have a few songs at their disposal, which they call a mini album. The fans and general public expect you to come back with another banger, essentially starting the process all over again. It's fucking insane. With all that pressure, you can see why a company would want their idols to have the best choreographers and songwriters. You can also see why they would spend a lot of money getting their group's name out there. And while I can understand that in the early 2000s, this should not be the case anymore. We have YouTube. Companies don't have to spend thousands of dollars on new set designs. Using an example from InternetsNathan,
Bar 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 is the song everyone knows Crayon Pop for, and for a good reason. Crayon Pop put on helmets to add to their already one-of-a-kind look. And don't get me wrong, Crayon Pop and their company didn't dump a ton of money into this comeback. They filmed the music video at an abandoned amusement park, and it's probably one of the cheapest music videos ever filmed, spending only, get this, a total of $347. But like magic, the music video began to take off, like really take off. Reaching millions of views in only a couple months, it went completely viral with their different look, simple dance, and adorable song. And for really the first time ever, Crayon Pop entered the Korean music charts, slowly rising to the top spots. They also broke into Billboard's K-pop Hot 100, ultimately taking the #1 spot.
Crayon Pop, a band that I love, was able to rise to the top of the charts and did so on a budget. You have YouTubers like Danny Gonzalez, who make some pretty good music videos. Are you going to tell me that he has a larger budget than these major Korean labels? No. Expensive set design and advertisement is not an excuse with today's digital landscape. First off, we can start by discussing how long these idols train for before debuting, because some will train for 7 years before being placed in a band. That's insane and could be cut down to a year. These companies need to stop investing into creating a new group every 5 years and instead invest in the ones that they have. If they absolutely must do this, and if it's what the general public wants, then they can A, do it on their own dime, or B, ask the established fan base to help financially support creating a new group. There is no reason these idols, who in some cases have saved companies from irrelevancy, like in the case of Big Bang putting YG on the map, and BTS taking Big Hit out of this building and putting them into this building. And let's talk about BTS, because what this band has done for Big Hit can't be overstated.
More than 50 years later, another foreign import is doing it again. Meet BTS, a 7-member South Korean boy band from Seoul. The band has sold millions of albums and is one of the most watched artists on YouTube. Not to mention, their stadium shows around the globe have quickly sold out. It's estimated that BTS is worth about $3.6 billion per year to the economy of South Korea, and more than $1 billion in consumer exports. The idols, as South Koreans call its megastars, were the reason that 1 in every 13 foreign tourists visited the country in 2017. BTS even partnered with Visit Seoul on a tourism campaign. Namsan Tower and Bangpo Bridge, which were featured in videos for the campaign, have become hotspots for tourists. Should BTS maintain their popularity, they could generate $37 billion in economic value for South Korea over the next 10 years.
Let that sink in a moment. This is coming from a boy band. If these companies can't provide basic necessities, then they shouldn't exist. I get that feeding a group of 12 would be expensive, but you only need to invest in a good facility once and simply maintain it. The issue is, these companies don't want to expand what they have, even though they are expanding their idol base. Greed is why some idols walk away with horrific experiences.
Pretty bad that day because I was bad, I wasn't as talented then, and I guess I messed up or like something, I don't know, I cracked my voice, whatever. So he stops the song and he starts bawling his vocal cords out. But he just like started like yelling the out, like yelling, like it's not even yelling, it was shouting. It was like shouting every curse word he can, and I was so shocked because I'd never had anyone just shout at me like that. That's not a way to treat your trainees, because how am I supposed to learn from that? So after that day, after being so abused, that's when my insomnia and my anxiety started. I remember from that day on for 6 months I could not sleep. Some shit happened, he left the company, and after that more girls started to come into our group. Total, it became about 11 people in the group. From here on, I remember like there was just so many girls in the group, and I remember like the dormitory, we only had 2 rooms, 1 small room, 1 medium room. Like I remember like one point like 10 girls were all living here. We had 1 bathroom.
And it can all be traced back to these slave contracts. A popular girl group now, Blackpink, has been out for almost 5 years and has only released 1 album. Their YG China counterpart is already teasing a new girl group. I mean, what the fuck? You want to know why these companies are always out of money? They can't stop trying to move on to the next big thing, and the next big thing costs money. Now, I'm sure these groups, in particular groups like Blackpink and BTS, do well financially, but the issue is for the vast majority of other smaller companies, they are all trying to run their operations like a military camp, and it just doesn't work.
The artists were also seemingly overworked as they averaged about 3 to 4 hours of sleep a day, with the remaining time spent on training or work, according to Prince Mock. As for appearance and weight, idols apparently checked their weight on a weekly basis, and if they went above the weight the company decides, they were punished with more exercise or forbidden to eat.
Again, this all harkens back to the type of contracts and expectations these artists are forced to endure. And keep in mind that Crayon Pop's first release, Dancing Queen, was not a success, so they had to brave the cold weather and do live performances and what's called guerrilla performances. This involves them dancing around at night in the streets. Crayon Pop would become popular with their song Bar Bar Bar, a music video that only cost, according to InternetsNathan,
a total of $347.
They would even tour with Lady Gaga, but oh darn it, wouldn't you know it, because they were so busy being successful, they forgot that their company was still keeping their tab open.
막 자세히 물어보거나 이러지 못해요. 그래서 레이디 가가 콘서트 가기 전에도 뭐 어쨌든 큰 이벤트이다 보니까 당연히 그래도 좀 돈을 벌 거라고 이제 생각을 하고 이제 갔다 와서 이제 뭐 정산이나 이런 걸 할 때 너네는 각자 앞에 얼마의 빚이 생겼으니 너네가 한 달 동안 미국에 갔다 온 동안 행사도 못한 것도 있고 하니까 빨리 앞으로 이제 행사나 이런 걸 해야 너네가 그런 빚을 갚을 수 있다 이렇게 얘기를 하시는 거예요. 그래서 너무 깜짝 놀라가지고 빚이 생겼다고요? 그래서 모르죠. 진실은 아직도 모르겠어요.
Again, why slave contracts are not good. And there are things that I fundamentally disagree with Nathan on, things like this.
About BTS, Twice, EXO, Red Velvet, 17, GOT7, Mamamoo, all of these groups are successful, and they probably paid off their debt and become pretty rich already.
The fact that you think that these idols should start their career with debt is fucking bullshit.
But we also have groups like Newest, Pentagon, Momoland that just made it into fame either by appearing in a popular survival show or surprised everyone with a viral hit song that did nothing but thrust them into K-pop stardom. Groups like these are in the middle tier, and they're on their way to paying off that debt.
Again, I just do not understand how you can justify starting these idols off with debt. A company shouldn't have to decide between properly clothing, feeding, and housing their idols and spending their money on a giant glittery fucking tank. A company has to make priorities, and the health and well-being of the idols should come first. I mean, it seems pretty obvious to me.
Now I hear you saying, all of this sounds pretty bad. The K-pop companies are taking advantage of the talented K-pop idols. Yes, that's kind of true. But in order for the K-pop economy to survive, this system was created and needs to continue to exist because it works.
It works is not a justification for these companies to continually control, manipulate, and abuse their idols.
Even though Lisa gained love and support from her now best friends, her trainee days just got more and more challenging. At their old dorm, Lisa became a knight in shining armor. In the Blackpink YouTube show 24/365 with Blackpink, the girls revealed the incredibly poor conditions they had to live in before they debuted. Since the members didn't have a lot of money, their living conditions were far from ideal. Their door once got infected with insects and cockroaches, and it was Lisa who was brave enough to kill these bugs and get rid of them.
I mean, do they even feed these kids? Haven't you ever noticed when they go on game shows, food is often used as some sort of weird fucking reward?
예. 만약에 처음에 성공하면 여러분들 드시고 싶은 음식을 제가 이번에는 남자 보이그룹이니까 제작진이 사드립니다. 걸그룹은 저희 돈으로 사는데 뭐 드시고 싶어요?
피자요.
피자?
네.
피자?
뭐 피자야? 좀 비싼 거 먹어요.
치킨도.
치킨 피자. 와우.
현아 양만을 위해서 선물을 준비했습니다.
진짜? 선물이에요?
명품 한우 모듬 세트입니다. 한우. 확인해봐.
Dude, they're offering her a steak. How is this a gift? And look how she's looking at it.
명품 한우 모듬 세트입니다. 한우.
I mean, am I missing something? Is this like an inside joke in Korea? I don't know, but it's really, really weird. So I'm going to direct my conclusion at InternetsNathan. Honestly, man, I really enjoy your content. I love your channel. I've learned a lot about K-pop, especially through your What Happened series. I think me and you just fundamentally disagree about how the contracts are laid out. You obviously know a lot more about the K-pop industry than I do, and I'm sure if we had a one-on-one conversation, you'd probably school me, but I just don't believe fundamentally that a K-pop idol's diet should be sacrificed at the expense of a company investing that money instead in stuff that I just don't think matters. And I think bands like Crayon Pop prove you don't really need a large budget to turn out high profit and become successful and get to the #1 spot. And I mean, I had to hide all of this from my girlfriend who isn't really a fan of K-pop. So when she asked me why I have all this cutesy music on my playlist, I had to lie and say it was for research.
What you listening to?
I don't think you like it.
Well, why not? I like this new generation of music. Mother of God, it's all toilet sounds. Where did you record this?
And you know what? I'm just going to say it. I love K-pop.
I love Lamp. I love Lamp.
But like a coward, I'm going to hide it from my girlfriend.